I've said I regretted having those dinners, and there's absolutely nothing new on that.
I was so stupid. That was the sentence that came out of the mouth of Bill Gates, the world's famous technology genius and billionaire. But the stupid mistake he mentioned was not about money. It was about Jeffrey Epstein, whom Bill Gates met many times even after he was convicted. This relationship not only cost Bill Gates his reputation, but also ruined his 27-year marriage to his wife, Melinda Gates. Right before the divorce, Bill Gates actively confessed the whole truth about Jeffrey Epstein. Why did he choose that moment? How did Jeffrey Epstein once control and threaten Bill Gates? The truth begins to come out now. Epstein and his mysterious connection to Bill Gates. Jeffrey Epstein, the name associated with one of the darkest scandals of the 21st century. He was a financier and a socialite. Epstein had a deep network of relationships with billionaires, politicians, academics, and celebrities. Among the names that have appeared in documents or flight logs related to Epstein, Bill Gates is one of the figures that has attracted special public attention. In January 2011, amid the hustle and bustle of New York, Bill Gates walked into a luxurious mansion on East 71st Street. The owner of the house was Jeffrey Epstein, who had just completed a shocking but strangely light sentence. Jeffrey Epstein was released after 13 months in prison, and for much of that time he was allowed to go out to day work. The meeting was private, without media, without cameras. Only a few people were invited. And according to leaked emails, the evening ended late in a strange atmosphere with the appearance of a Swedish woman and her daughter. What happened that night, no one knows. But it was not the only meeting. Between 2011 and 2013, Gates and Epstein met at least 3 to 5 times according to documents from the New York Times and the Wall Street Journal. In March 2013, they even flew together on a private flight from Teterboro, New Jersey to Palm Beach, Florida, a flight that was not mentioned in the media at the time. The purpose of the meetings, Gates said, was to discuss philanthropic projects and hopefully find donors for the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. Some sources also said that Epstein had promised to help Gates gain access to the Nobel Peace Prize Committee, something he denied ever wanting. But the big question remains, why would Gates, a notoriously cautious man, choose to meet with a convicted felon like Epstein? According to a source from the Daily Beast, Bill Gates sought out Epstein to find freedom and escape from the stress of work, as well as his marriage to his wife, Melinda Gates. Bill Gates confided in Epstein many times about his suffocating marriage to Melinda Gates. He sought Jeffrey Epstein as a place to escape to rest from the pressures of work and family life. Epstein, with his gentle and tactful appearance, became a counselor for Gates. It was also Epstein who advised Gates to divorce as a way to free himself. Some sources also revealed that Epstein secretly kept records of every meeting and often used them to pressure his VIP guests as a power insurance. Gates later described the relationship as a dark tunnel full of risks, but he was never investigated. To date, there is no direct evidence that Bill Gates has done anything wrong in his relationship with Epstein. However, in an age where reputations are tied to transparency, being associated with someone like Epstein for whatever reason is a rift that will not heal easily, especially for someone as well known for his ethics and philanthropy as Bill Gates. Why does Bill Gates, one of the most powerful and cautious people in the world, still maintain ties with Jeffrey Epstein despite his crimes? This question once made the media analysts and public opinion around the world spin in conjecture. But it was not until 2023 that a shocking truth was revealed. Jeffrey Epstein had Bill Gates by the throat, and he was willing to use it to coerce, manipulate, and threaten Bill Gates. The buried truth. What did Epstein know about Gates? The story begins in 2010 at a bridge tournament in San Francisco. Here, Bill Gates, then in his 50s, met Mila Antonova, a beautiful Russian girl who had just graduated and was pursuing a career in software engineering. Mila was very young, only in her 20s. She was a rising star in the bridge community, and she quickly attracted the attention of the co-founder of Microsoft. According to sources from The Guardian and the Wall Street Journal, Bill Gates and Antonova had a brief affair while he was still married to Melinda Gates. Antonova then left the tech industry and studied advanced programming. This is where Epstein came into the picture. In 2013, Antonova met Jeffrey Epstein, whom she thought was a helpful, successful businessman. Epstein paid for Antonova's tuition to study programming at a technology academy. I didn't know who he was at the time, Antonova later clarified. I had no idea he was such a horrible person. I was completely shocked when I found out the truth. In 2017, when all relations between Bill Gates and Antonova had ended, Jeffrey Epstein sent a chilling email to Bill Gates. In the email, Epstein implied that he knew about Gates's affair with Mila Antonova and demanded that Gates pay back the Russian girl's tuition he had paid for her. Otherwise, Epstein implied that the affair would be exposed. According to the Economic Times and the BBC, Epstein used his connections at JP Morgan, especially former CEO Jess Staley, to promote the idea of a billion-dollar charitable foundation. The ostensible purpose was to raise money for global programs, but the profits would go back to Epstein in the form of a large management fee. After his conviction, Epstein also tried to return to the upper class with his billion-dollar charity. He turned to Gates, who had influence and a reputation for morality, to clean his record using a photo link. However, Gates refused, feeling that the project lacked transparency and posed serious ethical risks. Gates thought it was all over. But a more serious consequence occurred. It was the threat from Epstein. Epstein's final lever, blackmailing Bill Gates with the past. In 2023, a series of documents leaked from JP Morgan in another lawsuit confirmed the worst. Epstein had directly threatened Gates using his relationship with Mila Antonova as a bargaining chip. The question is, why did Bill Gates, a billionaire, a man with both power and legal authority, not bring this matter to light? Perhaps because he knew that if the truth about an affair, even if it was not illegal, came out, it would be enough to destroy the image he had spent decades building. His wife Melinda Gates had warned him about Epstein. Revealing that he had been manipulated would only hurt her more and destroy public trust. In fact, after the threatening email in 2017, Gates continued to maintain a polite distance from Epstein, but never made any financial concessions or cooperated on any projects. He understood that to make a concession once was to accept being controlled for life. Bill Gates's association with a notorious man like Jeffrey Epstein has angered his wife, Melinda Gates. Melinda Gates had warned her husband not to associate with Jeffrey Epstein, but the Microsoft founder ignored her. Melinda Gates, the only person who saw Epstein's true face from the first moment. Melinda Gates, the woman who has been with Bill for nearly 30 years, is the first and only person who was not captivated by Jeffrey Epstein's elegant appearance and mask of power. In 2013, Bill Gates invited his wife Melinda to join him for a private dinner at Jeffrey Epstein's mansion on New York's Upper East Side. Gates had met Epstein several times before and believed that Epstein could play a role in global philanthropy. Melinda reluctantly agreed. She understood the importance of potential partners, but she also knew this was a man who had served time for a horrifying crime. Just one step into that luxurious house is enough. In a later interview, Melinda admitted, "I regretted it from the first second I walked into that house." Melinda described him as the devil incarnate. For a devout Christian woman who was an activist for women's and children's rights, associating with a convicted felon like Epstein was unforgivable. Melinda not only objected, she also urged her husband to end the relationship immediately. But Bill Gates did not listen. That brief encounter marked a quiet turning point in the Gates relationship. Melinda not only lost trust in Epstein, but also began to lose trust in her husband, who had persisted in maintaining a relationship with a scandalous figure despite warnings. The sense of betrayal came not only from the relationship with Epstein, but from Bill knowing full well how his wife felt and continuing to see her. Every time Bill visited Epstein after that, it was a deeper stab at trust. Bill Gates and Melinda's billion-dollar divorce. For decades, Bill and Melinda Gates have been the epitome of intelligence and philanthropy. Together, they built the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, the world's largest private charity, with a mission to end poverty, promote global health, and educate children. Melinda, a strong-willed, devout woman, is an activist for children's and women's rights. Bill, the man behind the Microsoft empire, is one of the most influential billionaires on the planet. They are not just a couple, they are a brand. Bill and Melinda's marriage began in 1994. They admitted that they had their ups and downs like any other couple, but it was their differences in lifestyle and personal ideals that gradually pushed them apart. Bill Gates was caught up in work and technological ambitions, from Microsoft to globalization strategies. And Jeffrey Epstein was the last straw. By 2019, when the press exposed a series of evidence of private meetings between Bill Gates and Jeffrey Epstein, Melinda quietly met with lawyers to prepare for a quiet but certain divorce. Although Bill Gates insisted that the relationship with Epstein revolved around charity discussions, Melinda found it unacceptable that he continued to associate with a man with a dark past. On May 3, 2021, Bill and Melinda announced their divorce after 27 years of marriage. The two kept a polite tone, did not argue about assets, and did not publicly blame each other. But to observers, the root cause was not irreconcilable differences, but rather the relationship with Epstein. Behind the seemingly peaceful divorce was a calculating and hurtful separation. The couple had no prenuptial agreement, and their joint assets were valued at $130 billion. Bill Gates quietly transferred billions of dollars in shares to Melinda, just weeks after announcing the divorce. With the help of a team of lawyers and advisors, Melinda received more than $6 billion in assets, making her one of the richest women in the world. However, she did not choose to live in the limelight of wealth, but started a new journey, independent and meaningful. After her divorce, Melinda founded Pivotal Ventures. Her organization focused on women's social justice and youth. She appeared at international conferences as an independent voice. Melinda was no longer defined by the name Gates. The media praised her as the woman who dared to leave one of the most powerful men in the world to stand up for herself. She hasn't said much about the divorce, but in a rare interview with CBS, Melinda shared, "There are things that happened that I can't forgive, but I'm moving forward not with anger, but with hope." What billionaire Bill Gates regrets. On January 27, 2025, in a rare and profound interview with the Wall Street Journal, Bill Gates, co-founder of Microsoft, who once topped the list of the world's most powerful and philanthropic people, frankly admitted for the first time the biggest mistake of his life. No more excuses, no more polite evasions, just one bitter and haunting sentence. "In retrospect, I was foolish to spend any time with him. I think I was quite stupid." The person he was referring to was none other than Jeffrey Epstein, the notorious criminal who had caused many powerful figures to suffer, and who eventually died in prison under questionable circumstances. No charity deals, no new partnerships, no opportunities opened. Instead, Gates was caught in a web of suspicion, gossip, and threats that have entwined his name in one of the darkest scandals of the 21st century. He calls it the biggest mistake of his life, a mistake that cost him not only his reputation, but also his 27-year marriage to the woman with whom he built the world's largest philanthropic empire. When a billionaire admits he was stupid, it's not humility, it's repentance. What do you think about Bill Gates' confession? Is one moral mistake worth a lifetime of career in the super-rich world? Public reaction cracks in Bill Gates' image. When information about the connection between Bill Gates and Jeffrey Epstein first came to light in 2019, global public opinion was stunned, then turned to skepticism. The press was quick to jump in. From the New York Times and the Wall Street Journal to Forbes and the BBC, a series of articles delved into Gates' meetings, leaked emails, and testimony. Yet there was no evidence that Gates participated in or was complicit in Epstein's crimes. The criticism focused not on guilt, but on misjudgment and recklessness. Public reaction was not entirely uniform. Some were disappointed. For them, Gates was no longer the white knight of the 21st century. They felt hurt by the trust they had placed in a person who they considered different from the super-rich. Others took a more humane approach. They argued that people make mistakes and that what matters is what happens afterward. Gates cut ties, publicly admitted that it was a mistake, and continued his philanthropic work without backing down. "I met with him. It was an error of judgment. I thought I could convince him to join positive initiatives, but I was wrong." Bill Gates responds to Anderson Cooper, CNN, 2021. Although the image of the perfect man has somewhat faded, Gates' social influence and trust in his humanitarian activities remain high. Many partners, international organizations, and developing countries continue to work closely with the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. New chapter of a genius billionaire who made mistakes. After the divorce, people predicted that Bill Gates would step back, but he still appeared just in a completely different style. No longer did he look like a man who held the future of humanity in his hands. Now he looked like a middle-aged man trying to make amends, humble and thoughtful. Bill Gates still lives at his Lake Washington mansion in Medina, but he has cut his social schedule to a minimum. No more lavish charity parties. No more arm-in-arm photos with Melinda. In interviews since the scandal, Gates has not completely denied the past. Instead, he has admitted that it was a serious personal error of judgment, that he was wrong to think he could encourage Epstein to use the money for charity, and that he should not have met him. It is worth noting that Gates does not play the deny and then stay silent trick like many other powerful figures. He continues to appear in public, attend conferences, make charity trips, and let his actions answer the unanswered questions. Although there have been rumors that he is dating again, Bill Gates has never confirmed it. The media has followed him closely, but has not caught any clear relationship. A source close to him told New York Magazine, Bill now only trusts people he has known for at least 20 years. No one enters that circle. Even though Melinda Gates is stepping down from the foundation in 2023, Bill Gates will continue to run the giant organization, not to prove anything, but because he believes it's the best way to do the right thing before leaving this world. He announced that he would donate his entire fortune of more than $120 billion, leaving very little to his children. Gates focused on the areas he considered most urgent: global health, vaccines, preventive medicine, climate change, and supporting education systems in developing countries. But after Epstein, he is no longer the default moral hero he once was. His every move is now closely monitored by the public. No more absolute adoration but sober scrutiny. Gates understands that, and he no longer participates in any of the cross-celebrity PR philanthropy models that Epstein once lured him into, and that led to his reputational tragedy. After all, Bill Gates is not a bad person. But he is also not a perfect role model. He is human with all his weaknesses, mistakes, and efforts to improve. For decades, Bill Gates has been the undisputed epitome of modern success. He is not just a technological genius, but also a symbol of intelligence and foresight that borders on the supernatural. His creations have not only changed the software industry, but also the way the world works. Bill Gates has always been a technological genius who has changed the world. Seattle, Washington, 1968. A 13-year-old boy with curious eyes and a quick mind was captivated by a strange machine in his classroom, a computer. At a time when most Americans didn't even know what a computer was, Bill Gates was engrossed in the first lines of code as if they were the most exciting game in the world. In 1973, Bill Gates was admitted to Harvard, the dream of millions of American students. But just 2 years later, he decided to drop out. The reason he wanted to build a software company with Paul Allen. It was a bold decision, but it was also the starting point for the global technology revolution. At the age of 17, he ran his first mini-company called Traf-O-Data. In 1980, the giant IBM was looking for an operating system for its new line of personal computers. Gates knew this was a golden opportunity, but instead of writing the software himself, he did the unthinkable. Bill bought an existing operating system, QDOS, modified it into MS-DOS, and sold it to IBM. More importantly, he did not sell outright, but only licensed it to IBM while retaining independent distribution rights. In 1985, Microsoft launched Windows, the first graphical interface based on MS-DOS. Although it was still in its infancy and was criticized for copying Apple's Macintosh, Gates had a long-term vision. He did not create a perfect product immediately. Instead, he built an ecosystem continuously upgrading through each version: Windows 3.0, Windows 95, Windows XP, and then Windows became the most popular operating system on the planet. By 2000, more than 90% of the world's computers ran Windows. Microsoft became the world's #1 technology empire, and Bill Gates, a college dropout, became the youngest billionaire in history. In 1999, his fortune hit $100 billion, leading the media to dub him the first centibillionaire. Unlike other tech billionaires who often show off their yachts, supercars, or lavish parties, Bill Gates chooses a private lifestyle, but behind it is a world of surreal wealth. Gates's main residence is located in Medina, Washington, a place the press has dubbed by the fanciful name Xanadu 2.0 after the billionaire's castle in Citizen Kane. Built over 7 years at an estimated cost of more than $125 million, Xanadu 2.0 is a masterpiece of technology and architecture. Xanadu 2.0 is the smartest house in the world before smart home became a trend. Each visitor is given an electronic chip which allows them to customize the lighting, temperature, and music according to their personal preferences, no matter which room they are in. Gates's vast library houses one of the most valuable personal possessions on the planet, Leonardo da Vinci's Codex. Leicester, worth more than $30 million a volume, that would fill a museum in itself. The 60-foot indoor pool has an underwater sound system, so the owner can listen to music while diving. The private theater can accommodate more than 20 people with classic recliners, a wood ceiling, and a state-of-the-art sound system. Despite once saying that owning a plane is an extravagance, Gates has finally given in to his hectic global schedule. He owns at least 2 private Bombardier and Gulfstream jets, each worth at least $50 million, capable of intercontinental travel in a matter of hours. The trips aren't just for leisure. Gates frequently flies to Africa, India, or remote locations to oversee the work of his foundation, but he chooses to keep the details private from the media. In the early 2000s, Gates began to retreat from the limelight. With his wife Melinda Gates, he founded the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, the world's largest private charitable foundation. We don't want to be just the richest people, but the people who contribute the most to humanity. The foundation has spent more than $50 billion on global issues, eradicating illiteracy, fighting polio and malaria, building vaccine systems in Africa and South Asia, and responding to climate change and food crises. Bill Gates is no longer the man who made the world admire him unconditionally like 3 decades ago. The image of a tech prophet or global savior has gradually been replaced by a more familiar and real portrait, an intelligent, ambitious man who has made mistakes and is seeking to make amends through actions, not words. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell, because the next story might be even more shocking than this.